Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the channel. I'm so delighted to have you here with me today. My name is Amy Diamond. Let's get into today. So today's format is going to look a little different than what you might be used to if you've been watching my channel for a little while. Today is actually an excerpt from my most recent workshop called Money Magic. This is day 3 of a 4-day workshop, and this is where we go OMG deep into the impact of long-term financial scarcity or struggle. So if you've had periods in your life, or if you are in one right now, hello, global economy 2026, where money is tight, where you've had more experiences of scarcity than you have of overflow. And all of the teaching about money, all of the workshops, the books, the programs that you've leaned into are not addressing what it actually is like to be in that place of scarcity and the long-term impact of it. Today is really going to resonate with you. Now, this is part of a workshop that was live. I will put 2 links into the show notes for you below. The first one is if you want to catch the full workshop, you can absolutely catch the replays until August 7th. So there is time from the time this video goes live that you can watch all of the replays. And this workshop is part of a larger program that is very juicy called Money Magic Mastery. The doors are open now for enrollment inside that program, so I'll put the link in the show notes for that one as well. Day 3. I don't understand how we're here already. This has been a funny week. We are here for day 3. We've got a very, very meaty day today, but it is not a long day. So it's sort of a little bit of an inverse relationship. We have some really deep content, but when I timed it out, we're averaging about 30 minutes, maybe 40, depending on if there's stuff that happens in the chat. So a little shorter today, which is great. Well, not great. I guess it doesn't really matter one way or the other, but sometimes I know that when I do some live workshops, it's nice to have a training that's a little bit shorter, right? Gets us back into our day a little more quickly. Okay. Of course, before we start out today, I want to give a shout out to our Money Magic sponsor, Mugging Whales Coffee. So Mugging Whales is a specialty coffee roaster located in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and they ship freshly roasted coffee coast to Canadian coast. Mugging Whales does offer free shipping across Canada for orders that are $60 or more. Let's get into today. So today is the day that oh my goodness, I feel like fire is raging through my veins. I shouldn't say raging. I'm not angry, but I just feel very lit up about what we're going to be talking about today. Nobody that I know is talking about what we're going to talk about today, and certainly not on the way that we're going to go into it. Okay, it's going to be a very different day from anything that you've seen before. Now, I've mentioned that I've been working on unlocking this whole money thing, right? What does this look like? How do we create more of it? How do we create this consistent flow? How do we build wealth? I've been doing that for more than 2 decades, which someday I'll probably get used to saying that. And just as I get used to saying that, I'll have to say, and I'm doing it for 3 decades. So it's been a long time. And I got to tell you, I literally never, ever thought that I would be teaching about money. Okay. This was never a thought in my brain. I would say that's probably because for one, I believe that I needed a finance degree or a multi-million dollar bank account or at the very least some kind of financial designation in order to be someone who can talk and teach about money, right? I don't have any qualifications. Who the heck am I supposed to be doing this? And the other thing was that everyone that I was learning from always left me feeling like I was doing something wrong. No matter which money expert, no matter which financial guru, no matter which life coach, no matter which personal growth, expert, coach, guide, whatever, it always seemed like I was doing something wrong. It was always that I was the problem, and if I just followed their advice, it should work. But this is what happened when I tried to follow their advice. In my 20s, I learned to be ashamed that I wasn't investing $100 or more every single month because I was scraping by. I could barely afford groceries and rent, and that was shameful. I learned about compound interest, which every financial person out there loves to go like compound interest is your best friend. But I would feel defeated before I even started because I had no idea when I'd have money to start investing. Right? I certainly didn't have it when I was in my 20s. I didn't know when I was 18 how I was going to start investing. Oh my gosh, I didn't know anything about investing when I was 18. I still wasn't started at 25. And by now, I'd already had a number of years of this like fear that compound interest was now working against me. I just kept hoping that at some point I could make up for the lack of time by the sheer volume of money. Now, we're not going to get into this, but that's not entirely how compound interest works, which makes it even more frustrating as we get older. In my 30s, I learned to feel guilty about all of my spending decisions or even my savings decisions, which was crazy to me. I learned that I shouldn't buy a car ever, even though I had no idea how I'd actually get around without one. Or that if I do buy a car, get like a really inexpensive one, don't buy a new one. That's silly, like a sheer loss, right? I learned that I should have saved for a house or a condo long before I actually ever had, that I was paying rent every month, but like I don't have money for a condo or a house. It sounded wonderful. I definitely explored it a time or two, but I just didn't, there wasn't enough money left over after everything was getting covered. The teachers were telling me not to buy a $5 latte while they were standing on the stage with their Starbucks cup. The experts said don't spend money on frivolities, right? Don't spend money on clothes and shoes and bags and whatever else. But the coach that I'd hired said that no one wanted to hire an interior designer with an older car, with non-designer clothing, or without a certain look. They pay for an aesthetic, Amy, an image, is what she told me. So I spent money that I didn't have to, at the very least, upgrade my purse to something somewhat acceptable. Wasn't a designer purse. I did not have that kind of cash. And it wasn't something that I wanted, but I was like, well, I guess it looks a little bit better. And I'd park my car a block away and I'd walk to the house with my bag and all my sample books so that they wouldn't see what I drove. And then after all of this came the regret. The back half of my 30s, I'd see 20 somethings becoming millionaires. I'd see my high school classmates getting married. I'd see them buying houses there. And I was just sitting there going like, but all of my decisions, every move I make, everything that I've done, apparently I should have done it better. Like I just thought that I was doing it all wrong. And the part that was really frustrating was that anytime I'd start to make headway on releasing these icky feelings, I'd find myself working with another coach, investing in another program where the guide would load shame, guilt, and even more regret on the money constriction that I've been dragging along with me every step of the way, which was the entire reason I hired them or invested in it in order to change that. Well, if you load someone with shame and guilt and regret, it's really difficult to actually create some change, right? So today we're going to do a really deep cleanse on this. So definitely like drink some water. But before we get into like that part of things, let me tell you a story. So I paid $6,000 to be in a course. Okay. Didn't mean to sign up. That was never my intention. In fact, I joined the launch workshop last minute, intending to just be open to receiving some clarity on what I had been struggling with. The workshop was hitting in all the right places. I was really glad that I'd made the decision to be there every day. And I don't know, I think it was like a 4-day workshop. So around day 3, the offer came in. Now, I wasn't emotional about it. I knew that there was an offer as part of the workshop. That was fine. I didn't feel like I was missing out by not jumping in and taking it. I just felt nothing really. Like there was no anything about this offer that was presented. The next day was back into the workshop. Offer got promoted again. And this time something twinged. Just a little something, a little pokey. And I was like, interesting. All right. Well, it started worming into my brain. Once the twinge happens, it starts to like wiggle its way in, right? So I went to sleep that night knowing that I wasn't signing up, fully okay with it. No desperation, no FOMO, no like, oh, I wish I could afford it. Like just straight up, no, just I'm not signing up for it. This free workshop is fine, and that's where I'm going to be. The next morning I woke up and I knew I'd be signing up. I have no idea why. I honestly can't tell you what changed overnight. I have no idea what happened. And the truth is, it doesn't actually matter because the signing up part isn't the story. It's what happened after I signed up that matters. So the program began, I think it was a 13-week program or something like that. I was all in. I did all the pre-work and there was a shit ton of it. Holy smokes. I don't think I've ever done so many like workbooks and like videos and like it was like cramming for final exams in university. It was crazy. I was in all of the live coaching calls. I joined every single unscheduled live chat that I could. I signed into the app every day to cheer on like my fellow program members. I did every single ounce of the homework, the videos, the workbooks, the meditations, all of it. I was confident that this is going to show me how to shift my identity into the identity of a successful person and that was going to make the whole difference, right? I was learning from a master. They've made tens of millions of dollars doing exactly this. And the success stories were everywhere. There were lots of people in the program who were in it for their 5th or 10th or 13th time. So a few weeks in, we're on a live coaching call. There's probably about 150 people in the room. A person raised their hand to ask a question, and when they were called up, they shared their current experience. They said that they were struggling financially, very worried that they wouldn't be able to make rent next month, and wondering how they could manifest in the money and the income so that they could keep going. Now, the coach told them that they were focusing on the wrong thing. I could see the person like visibly shrink, right? They're in a room with their peers. They've asked a question. They've just been told they're looking at the wrong thing. So this person asked a few more questions, tried to get some clarity, and then their hot seat was done. People applauded them for being so brave. They celebrated them in the app. They were like, it's so awesome. That was so helpful. Thank you so much for standing up. Well, a week later, we're in another coaching call. Money comes up again, this time in a more general way. The coach says, if by the end of this program you're still struggling with money, you're doing something wrong. Interesting. Another week later, the person from the first call raises their hand again to be in the hot seat. They get called up. They share that they lost their apartment. They haven't been able to find a job, and they're now living at their mother's house while they try to get it together. How do I call in the money? They asked. How do I find a job when the economy is so bad right now? I've been applying everywhere. And again, the coach said, you're focusing on the wrong thing. And stop saying that the economy is bad. You have a belief that you can't make the money, so therefore you aren't making the money. But the money is actually really simple. You just need to provide value, and you'll earn money at the level of value you're providing. Does that sound funny? Does that not funny? Does that sound familiar? I'm laughing because because it makes me laugh. That's why I'm laughing. So anyway, the person asked a few more questions and then their hot seat was done. Now I could see the frustration and the defeat written in the lines of their face. Week after week, money would come up in the workshop, and I lost count of how many times the coach would say, if you're still struggling with money at the end of this program, you're doing it wrong. Now, my biggest fear when I enrolled was that I'd finish the 13-week program and I'd have nothing to show for it other than an extra $6,000 sitting on my credit card. And the coach would say that I manifested exactly that because that's what I worried would happen. But I'm here to tell you that's bullshit. I've been in a lot of rooms by this point in my life, okay? I've paid out tens of thousands of dollars to be in programs and conferences and coaching relationships, all with the goal of building a strong and profitable business that feels joyful, that makes bank, and that actually helps people. I've listened to many money experts talk about why you're not wealthy yet or why money isn't working for you and more. I've seen people laughed at by experts from the stage for the decisions that they've made. I've seen people called out for struggling with financial scarcity and trying to build a business, but being told that their focus on the money is exactly what's scaring customers away. That desperation is a turnoff. One person after another who is seemingly financially successful has told the not yet successful that they're unwilling to do what's necessary, that they're focusing on the wrong thing, that they're spending money stupidly. Guilt, shame, regret. That's what builds in these moments. I have actual literal goosebumps talking about this. There's only one moment in my life where I didn't wonder almost every day how I was going to pay my bills next month. It was the 3-year stretch from when I first got promoted until I left my job in tech. Beyond those 36 months, every month of my life has had me wondering, sometimes with some like very deep intensity, how I'm going to pay for things a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now. Any given person could walk in and look at the money flow in my life and tell me that I'm doing it wrong. They'd say things like, Amy, you're paying $350 a month for a web platform? That's idiotic. Like, cancel the subscription, build a simple site on a free platform, use a free email server, and go to the bigger platform once you're making money. Amy, you're paying $600 a month for your car? That's stupid. You don't need a car like that. Sell it, get to use something with the profit, lower your monthly costs immediately. Buy something else once you are making money. Amy, you're getting an all-natural eye cream for $34. That's ridiculous. Stop being a prima donna. Get a $12 eye cream from the grocery store and go back to the natural one once you're making money. And I've also had this. Amy, you're telling me that you're not willing to ask your husband to support you while you build the business? Why not? That's what spouses do. But I've also felt the stab in my heart when, during an unfiltered moment over dinner with friends, when I'm teasing my husband about all the sexual favors that he owes me for all the haircuts I've given him, he says, how about the fact that you've been living rent-free all these years? I've had bank employees openly shocked at the number of savings accounts that I have. I've had so-called business leaders call me out in a room full of 150 of my peers for missing my make it bigger than you think is possible income goal by $200. I've had a coach tell me that my $10,000 a month goal was too big and that I should focus on something smaller, something more realistic. I've been told that I need to prove my commitment to the universe by investing all in on my dream. I've been asked by my dad when he saw that I had written a $10,000 earnings month on my calendar why I hadn't done it again. I've had so many moments where people outside of me have laid shame and guilt and regret onto me for my decisions, for my actions, for my non-actions, for my doubts, for my struggles, for my dreams. And this is what I hate about the world of money teachers. You aren't here to figure out how to unlock your earning because you've already got so much that you don't know what to do with it all. You're here to learn how to unlock your earning because you want, need, and deserve more of it. So today we're going to talk about the thing that nobody wants to talk about. Everybody brushes over and they pile a load of shame onto it. We're going to talk about the impact of long-term financial struggle or scarcity, because there's something misaligned happening in the world of money teaching and manifestation guidance. There are a multitude of successful entrepreneurs whose success stories include that they became millionaires or multimillionaires in their 20s. And that's awesome. And we love those examples. And I celebrate every single one. But if you're in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s, and more of your adult life can be characterized as one of financial struggle or scarcity than of financial overflow, there's going to be a core disconnect between one key element these successful entrepreneurs are currently teaching us. And that disconnect is this: the delusional belief training. Here's what I mean. Many of these experts are telling us that the key to shifting into a completely different money mindset is to anchor into the belief of our dreams with a delusional ferocity, to ignore all that is being reflected to you in your current life circumstances, the bank account balance, the credit card statements, the bills, right? And to focus only on, to the exclusion of all else, the goal that you want to achieve. They'll tell you that once they started doing that, suddenly the business took off. The money started pouring in. It was the key to their success. But perhaps you remember your early 20s. Perhaps it feels familiar that delusional belief was kind of the anchor point. We looked at the world differently. We thought we knew it all. We were like vibrating in passion. We could see the potential of all that was before us. We launched headstrong into making something happen when we did. That's when delusional belief feels right and feels real and feels tangible. But our risk is also smaller. We have time to make up for our mistakes, for our costs, for our debts. However, spend a year or two or 10 in financial struggle, in financial scarcity, not just, oh, I only have $80 in my bank account, I can't afford to go out, but I only have $80 in my bank account and rent is due in a week. Do that over and over, and your ability to ignore the current circumstances changes. In my life, I've always made rent. I've always paid my bills, though sometimes late out of necessity, and I've never starved. But there were times when I couldn't afford something as simple as a jug of milk, and I had to eat whatever was left in my cupboards until my next paycheck came in. Times when I resigned myself to selling my car because I couldn't afford the payments. I couldn't afford the insurance, I couldn't afford the fuel, and even knowing that if I did so, I would struggle to get to work without a car, to get to school. I wouldn't be able to go see my family. There are many times when I turn out the light at night and I would feel my body fill with fear that I was only going deeper and deeper into debt, and that nothing I seemed to be doing was changing that. I do everything the experts were teaching me to do. I'd constantly shift my thoughts to my goal. I'd be feeling the feeling of it already being accomplished. I'd say my affirmations with as much feeling as I could master, 10, 20 times a day. I'd sit in quiet meditation, visualizing the goal being reached, putting myself further into time, right? Way ahead, where not only was the goal reached, but it was now normal in my life that the bills were paid with ease, that the business was growing beautifully, that I was making a real difference in the world through my work. I'd do hypnosis tracks to shift my beliefs, timeline therapy to clear the old blocks. I'd journal through my fears. I'd light intention candles with a clear vision. And through it all, I was never homeless. I never had to sell my car and I never starved. But I also had a real visceral feeling in my body that knew scarcity. And this exists as a kind of trauma in your body. So, yesterday we talked about how childhood roles don't just shed away because we get older. They take intentional effort and calibrated action, and at times, a willingness to face and to heal some traumatic experiences. Living in financial scarcity and struggle has a similar long-term effect. Now, we know this. We saw it linger in folks who lived through the dirty 30s and people who survived world wars or extreme starvation. A person who has experienced this kind of lived struggle can't just delusionally believe that it's all going to be okay as long as they ignore all that is present in their life. They know the very real impact if the money doesn't come in. If the rent doesn't get paid, if the mortgage payment doesn't get made, if the utility bill or the phone bill gets ignored for too long. It's not that holding a delusional belief is wrong or that it doesn't work. It's that it isn't useful or effective for you. Now, I will say this, and this is really important to understand. In order to go after your dreams, in order to be crazy enough to build a business out of nothing, in order to even expect just a little that you can change your life, you do need to be a little bit delusional, but in like a good way, a real way, in a I see what's around me now and I'm willing to go after what I want, even if everyone and everything says I'm crazy kind of a way. But attempting to call in money now, when you are living in the struggle from a place of, I'm ignoring all that's occurring and I refuse to see it because it's all going to work out if I just believe strongly enough, that's the thing that doesn't work. And I hope that in hearing that, you feel a sense of release and witnessing in your body. You cannot outbelieve your internal programming. You can change your programming, absolutely. I'm going to show you how, and I'll even hold your hand through it, but it takes time. And here's the annoying thing. The annoying thing about money and bills and rent and mortgages is that they don't stop while you're changing your programming. They come month after month after month. So the work isn't to delusionally believe. The work is to keep moving and keep shifting and keep choosing an intentional response day after day instead of succumbing to an emotional reaction. The work is to be able to hold in one hand the awareness of the very real financial reality in your life and to manage and mitigate the risk of this as much as possible, while also holding in the other hand the goal, the dream, the intention of overflow, moving every day through tiny actions and itty bitty decisions and these little tiny, like micro alignments to bring these hands together until the overflow is the real financial reality, until the goal is the lived experience. But in order for that to happen, a few things need to happen. So first, we've got to do a little bit of excavation work, right? We got to bring to the surface the shame and the guilt and the regret that you've buried inside over your past money decisions. The income that you did or didn't make, the experiences that you've had to miss because you couldn't actually afford to go. We don't heal our money story or our money history by ignoring it. And we also don't need to spend years reliving it. We address it as it comes up. And the great news is, once you move forward with this intention, your subconscious mind will actually naturally raise things into your awareness to be witnessed and loved on and released. You'll be on the journey, you'll be doing the things, you'll be feeling great. You're like, this is amazing, let's go. And then one day you're going to wake up like deep in sadness, in regret, in that awful feeling of shame about something that happened in the past. You'll wonder why can you suddenly not stop thinking about it? And that's the moment. Your subconscious mind said, okay, let's pull this out. We're ready to release this now. The work is to lean in that moment, not to ignore it or dismiss it. Now, in tandem with this, we need to learn how to move and respond differently in our day-to-day life. We witness what our initial reaction is when we think about, for example, selling a product or a service. We pay attention when we're in a sales call with a potential client. We notice what's happening. And we're going to fall on our face a lot, okay? You're just going to be like, oh my gosh. You're going to wonder, why can't I seem to get my sales funnel in place to make the high volume sales that I see others doing, right? You'll wonder probably daily for a little while if you're really cut out for this life, for this dream. Do you have what it takes? And we'll practice bit by bit, changing how we move in those moments. And this is where my genius shines. And even saying that feels like wildly uncomfortable to just declare openly, this is where I'm really amazing. But I am a master at seeing things differently, at helping you surface ideas that you feel actually excited about. And in a kind, loving, but also kind of kick your ass sort of way, saying, hey, so like, this thing that you said or that you've been doing lately, you realize it's not working for you, right? Perhaps we want to change that. That's where my genius shines. You don't change your programming just by journaling a new version one time. You change your programming through repetitive practice and constant adjustments. There's this really amazing book by an author named Maxwell Maltz. The book is called Psycho-Cybernetics. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. In it, the author explains how a self-guided missile works. Now, we think that how it works is we put in the coordinates, we press the button, we launch the missile, and it goes straight to where it was directed. But this is what actually happens. We put in the coordinates, we press the button and launch the missile, and second by second in flight, the missile pings to the coordinates and compares to where it is in space now. If the response says it's still on course, it maintains its trajectory. But more often than not, the response says it's misaligned. So it takes corrective action continuously through the whole damn flight, right up until it lands on the target. It's constantly monitoring for what we would call mistakes, not so it can beat itself up or spin a story about how it's this big failure, but so that it can continue to adjust course over and over and over again to hit the target. It doesn't delusionally believe it can reach the target, and it doesn't build stories of shame or likely failure every time it needs to adjust. It just adjusts. That's how it works. This is how we change the programming. You're going to get it wrong a lot at the beginning, but each ping back that says, hey, that didn't seem to work how I thought it was, is a response that you get to work with. That sales call was a disaster becomes, okay, so I'm really good at the discovery part, and they seemed ready to say yes, and then he got a little weird about asking for the sale. So now we know where to practice. The discovery part you're amazing at. Let's figure out how to ask for the sale clearly. This product line feels so depressing, but is such a big part of my business becomes, okay, I thought this is what I needed to do to build the business, but it's just depressing the fuck out of me. It's draining all my energy. What if I was willing to let that stream go and to look to build delight and loyalty and fun in another stream that already feels good? What if that could end up over time making way more money than this current line that's depressing as fuck? Right? That's the shift. Now, there's one more thing that we need to cover today, and that is this. If you've been living in long-term financial scarcity or struggle, okay, so I'm talking more than a couple weeks, possibly even more than a couple months, you've probably thought often, I'm broken. I'm doing it wrong. I will never get to where I want to be. You've likely cried thousands of tears. You've soaked hundreds of Kleenexes. You've nursed countless puffy eyes because, again, you're staring at a bank account balance that isn't going to pay the bills. You're holding a credit card statement you have no hope of paying off. You're clocking in another month where you've made little to no money in your business. You're rounding another year in your job without a raise and little to no hope of finding something different. Good. You've had your back against the wall time and time again, and you have kept going. You're not a failure. You are not doing it wrong. You are not destined to be broke and struggling and gazing after your dreams forever. You're tenacious. You're determined. You have a deep drive and a strong pull that keeps pulling you forward. You figure shit out. You don't look scarcity in the eye and collapse to the floor, throw your hands in the air and wail, I'm doomed. And maybe you do. I know I certainly have. But do you know what else you do? You get back up. You dry your tears. You drag yourself forward. And you figure shit out. Do you know what that's called? That's called survival. That refusal to give up, that's your deepest programming saying, no way is this the end of us. That determination to figure it out, that's your limbic brain, there is a way, and I will find it. That ability to weather scarcity and struggle over and over and over, that is your body rising up for you over and over. Your heart still beating, your lungs still processing oxygen, your eyes still looking outward. You are not broken and weak and doomed. You're a warrior. You're just tired of fighting the same damn war over and over and over. So tomorrow, I'm going to show you how we change it. Because it's time for it to change. I'm going to show you how do we hold in one hand the awareness of our financial reality as it is today, while in the other hand holding the vision, the goal, the dream of overflow and impact and delight. How do we bring these together Not by banging our reality over the head with affirmations and delusional beliefs, but by gently observing what is, by intentionally responding with higher and higher calibration, and by calmly, over time, changing the damn programming. It's not magic, but it will feel like it. So here's what you're going to do today after we leave this training. And look at us. See, we're going to be like just shy of, well, 45 minutes, I guess, because we started at the top of the hour. I'm going to give you a few questions, and I'm encouraging you to spend some time with these and answer them honestly. They're simple lists. It's not going to take you very long. It might take you like 20 or 30 minutes. Okay. So give yourself a little timer, put some fun music on, and like, let's get into it. All right. Here's what I want you to sit down with today. I want you to list 5 times that you told yourself you were wrong for your current circumstances or for going after your dreams. I want you to list 4 times that someone else dumped shame or guilt on you for your money decisions, even if it was from watching a money expert on a video. I want you to list 3 times when you were ready to give up on yourself. 2 money situations that you tried to delusionally believe your way through. And finally, I want you to list 1 thing in your life that you have managed to change over time that now feels normal and natural and joyful to you. And when you've done writing those lists, I want you to ask yourself this question. Am I willing to keep moving? Am I ready to hold in one hand the awareness of my current financial reality while I hold in the other hand the goal, the vision, the dream? And if I'm constantly calibrating to the goal, how likely is it that I'll hit it? Once you write your answers to these things, close the book, walk away, and just go about your day. Just let it settle. Don't overthink it. Don't rewrite the list 100 times. Don't keep asking yourself the question. Ask it one time, answer it, and move. That's your job. All right. Tomorrow, I promised you we would go deep today. Yes, I did. Tomorrow we're going to bring all of our last 3 days together. Okay? We've looked at this in like 3 pillars, and then tomorrow we tie the whole thing together. We'll put the roof on top. Maybe that's a good what's the word I'm looking for? Analogy, that we put the roof on top of our pillars. It's our stool, right? We put our seat on there. Anyway, I'm going to show you clearly why each of the topics the last 3 days that we've talked about are interrelated. They may not seem like it, other than the fact that we've been talking about money, okay? But all 3 of these things are deeply interrelated. We're going to talk about why the dollars that you've been trying to manifest in have actually been coming to you. Spoiler alert. But they haven't been able to land with you. And we're going to talk about what we can do to change that. As we finish today, shout out to our sponsor, Mugging Whales Coffee. Their coffee is spectacular. So 12 out of 10 recommend. Okay, I hope that you got a lot out of that workshop, and it's created some massive unlocks and aha moments for you. This is one of the days in the workshop that I got the most comments from people who tuned in with me live or caught the replays, because it created some really big a sense of witnessing, a sense of being really seen for the first time in a long time, possibly ever, and really just mind-boggling awareness coming through. If you like this, be sure to do the things, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more notifications when the next video pops out. And of course, if you want to catch the fullness of the workshop, go ahead, click the link in the show notes to catch the full replays, and or come join me inside Money Magic Mastery, where you'll get the full access to the workshop for life. And also we'll actually dive into a container of doing some amazing work together. My loves, thank you again. I will see you next week. Bye for now.